Hello, welcome to my quick start guide for the Mio Aviation SatNav as sold by FastPicker85, which is my online seller name on eBay. Now to start off with, to switch the unit on, we've got a button on the top left which we hold for about 2 to 3 seconds, and then after a brief delay the unit starts up. This will take you to the loading screen, where we get a number of different options, which are LK8000, Smart ST, which is normal car navigation as provided by Mio, and XC SAW. Now before we go into any of those, we'll talk about brightness. Because Windows CE can't save brightness settings permanently, you can either leave the brightness setting as it is, which is good enough for most days in the UK to be fair, or to adjust that, you go to Start, which is in the top left, and then on Settings, and then you can see Backlight Control. Double tap that, and then you've got a bar where you can select it from high or low. Now I usually set it to high initially, as the battery life on these units is pretty good when they're fully charged. You then click OK and an X to go back to the previous menu. Now in this first part I'll be going into the quick start guide for the LK8000. The second part, which will be the next video, we'll be talking about the features and quick start for XC SAW. To start LK8000, double tap the symbol and that tone lets you know that it's starting. This is the initial loading screen. You've got various options: fly, profile, exit or simulate. Simulate is whilst you're indoors and you haven't got a sat-nav signal, or you might simulate flying a route or similar. Profile, you can select various different profiles here from aircraft, and lets you select the different options to system and etc. When you bought your sat-nav from me off eBay, it will be preloaded with UK airspace maps and the best settings for flying in the UK, with a southern UK map selected initially. Those are all set up in default, so what you can do is just close that and go straight to fly. I'll be talking about how to amend those airspace and local area settings in a minute if you want to change those. So normally you just leave that screen as it is and then click fly. Now I am indoors at the minute, so we'll see whether the sat-nav can pick up a GPS signal. This guide's more about talking about the features. As you can see, this will tell you the version 5 alpha, which is the latest available. Click on anywhere on the screen and it'll take you to the opening map. Now talk through some sort of hotkeys. To zoom, if you click at the bottom of the screen, it'll zoom you out. And there's a scale down on the right which will tell you 1 mile equals that bar. To zoom back in, you click at the top of the screen and funny enough it zooms you back in. To go to the next page, there's 5 pages available with different information on them. You click on the right, and to click to the previous page you click on the left. There's a little dot down the bottom saying 1, that tells you which page you're on, and the pitch of the tones also goes up telling you which one you're on. Now we're back on the original screen for the minute. Now final option in terms of hotkeys, this black bar down the bottom, if you click on the left or the right it'll cycle forwards or backwards through the options. So at the minute we've got ground speeds in kilometers per hour, altitude in feet and track in degrees. So I want to go to the next page, I'm going to click down the bottom right and I can cycle through various different options. Now depending on whether you've got task sets or you're flying or moving, it'll tell you how quickly you're going to get there, what altitude and so on. One that's quite helpful, battery level. It tells you in percent how much is remaining. Now on average I reckon these units, dependent on temperature and how bright you've got it set, will last about 2.5 to 3.5 hours on the system battery. Now that can be of course extended with an external battery pack. Now going back to the original screen, that's high pitched tone, tells you that you're back at the original one. Now this is the one I found most helpful personally. Now what we're going to talk about next is how to select airspace and maps if you're flying in a different area, say you want to fly in the UK in the north, or Spain, or wherever else. What you do for that, for all the menus, you click on that paragliding symbol on the bottom right, and that brings up the menu screen. Now we're going to go on configure, and click that, and then there's 3 different pages, page 1, 2 or 3. We're going to use page 2 and go on LK8000 setup in the bottom left. Now you've got device setup, system, aircraft and pilot setup. Device setup you shouldn't have to touch, that's already configured to use the Mio GPS effectively with LK8000. System setup, that's the one we're going to go into, so clicking that take you to this page, and on this page you can select the map file. We click on that. At the moment we've got UK South selected. You could select UK North, Wales, Central, Poland, or any of the other maps that have been preloaded. ESP is of course Spain, France and so on. You'd select that, click select, and it'll load that map for you. Now I'm going to leave it UK South, so going to cancel. Terrain, it's exactly the same, South, North for the UK, Poland, Germany, etc. Germany, Poland, Ireland. You can select any of those and then go select. Now the numbers next to it, the lower they are, so 250 will be a more detailed in-depth map, whereas 1000 will be quite a general overview, normally used for an entire country. Now you'd select that again, go select. We're going to go to cancel, so I'm going to leave it as it is. Airspace, exactly the same. You select which country's airspace you want to have displayed on the unit, say German, select, and then it'll load that for you. I'm going to leave everything as it is. You could then also go through all the other options, which you can change everything from whether it's track is up on the map or north is up, safety altitude, alarms, lots and lots of stuff. Loads of information. I've already set it for paragliding, the most convenient options that I tend to use. Feel free to change those. More information on the LK8000 website on their manual, which should be easy to find if you just type LK8000 in Google. Right, say you've amended these options now, and you wanted to, so I'm going to go back to config 2, LK8000 setup. You've amended those options and I wanted to save those. So say I've changed it to UK North, the more in-depth map for the north of the UK. I then go to system save, and normally if I wanted it as my default profile, because I want to not fanny about as I enter the system, I just want to click fly and the thing loads it all for me. I'm going to click save as, default profile, select. Great, because every time I load it now it's just going to come up with all the standard options I use. Say however you want to fly in Italy on a holiday, you can click save new, enter the name of the whatever it is you're loading, and then in future at the startup screen you can then load that specific profile rather than your default. So let's click close there. Last thing I'm going to talk about is I find it quite helpful, as I tend to live near London. This at the moment is displaying all the airspace above me up to flight level nosebleed. Not terribly helpful to know about airways that are 30,000 feet if you're paragliding. So what I tend to do is click on the bottom right, then configure, and then airspace clip. By pressing that, it then gives me a more valid option or view of the airspace around me. So as we can see here, it's for example got Lynham airspace or Bryce up here with Bryce zone and so on. It's also got the various danger areas and other areas you're not meant to fly in. Now that pretty much concludes everything I've got to say in the initial quick start guide. If you've got any questions, feel free to send me a message on eBay. Alternatively, as I said, the manuals are all available on the LK8000 website. If you type in LK8000 on Google, you'll easily get to this site with the manuals that you can then download. I hope this has been helpful, and that's me signing off. Many thanks for watching.